Did you know that almost every single entrepreneur that I've spoken to over the years at some point experiences burnout? And right now, if you're looking to avoid burnout as a business owner, this video is for you. I'm going to walk you through 5 things I think will really help you out. Hey guys, Yuri Elkaim, CEO and founder of Healthpreneur. We help health professionals build scalable coaching businesses that transform more lives. Whether or not you're a health professional is irrelevant. If you're a business owner, you will experience a certain degree of overwhelm, confusion, burnout, frustration. My head's going to explode. I have too many things going on. It's inevitable. I want to share 5 things that have helped me, because the reality is when I started my business, I was actually transitioning online from previously being a personal trainer and nutritionist, working one-on-one 12 to 14 hours a day. I felt burnt out. I felt ground to the floor. What's interesting now is, 20 some odd years later, I work harder, I work more, and I don't feel burnt out. How's that possible? Well, I want to share some of the reframes that I've been able to use over the years. Hopefully these help you as well. So step number 1 is to give work a better meaning. So you go to a sporting event, soccer game, because I played soccer in the past, so we'll just use that. 50,000 people in the stands watching the same match. Some people cry, some people laugh, some people are jubilating with excitement. What's the difference? It's the same match, but everyone's giving it a different meaning. And it's the same thing in life. It's not the event, it's the meaning we give to the event. So it's only a grind if it feels like it is. Hustle, right? It feels like a hustle, therefore it's a hustle. So what I'm suggesting here is give your work a better, more empowering meaning and ultimately connect to why you started. So when I was working one-on-one 12 to 14 hours a day, there was no light at the end of the tunnel. I didn't see a way out. And I was like, what am I doing? Now, when I work maybe 50 to 60 hours a week, I know what I'm building. I know I'm very connected to my why. I'm very connected to my vision. I'm very connected to the purpose for why I'm doing this all. So I get excited by putting in the work. I get excited by having to do stuff. And because I'm connected to that purpose, I feel pulled in that direction as opposed to being pushed or feeling ground in the process. So if you can find a way to give better meaning to the work, because I think most of us just live a happier life when we do work that we love. I don't know many retired people who feel massively fulfilled. Now, again, I don't hang around thousands of retired people, but anecdotally, we know that there is generally a bit of a shorter lifespan when people retire from work, when they stop doing what they love. We even see it in life. I look at, family members who've retired and friends, parents who retired, and I'm like, what do they do with their days? There's no purpose. Humans, all of us, we are heat-seeking missiles. We need a purpose, we need a vision, we need a reason to get out of bed in the morning, and we gotta attack that. That's when I believe we feel most fulfilled. That's at least for me, and I think a lot of people. So figure out what is going to drive you, what's gonna give you meaning, and whatever that work is, it's not gonna feel like work. And if you're doing something you can't find meaning in, well, guess what? Maybe find something else. No one's putting a gun to your head. 2, change the model. Your business model can be burning you out. So if you're working one-on-one with patients or clients or customers all day long, that could be part of why you feel burnt out. You're so in the business, you can't even see the forest for the trees. Step out of the business, come 30,000 foot and work on the business, right? Are you posting all over the internet and DMing people left, right, and center? That's a very exhausting type of model. Versus, could you think about, okay, well, what's the model that would support the type of life I want to live? So my first business, which was a health and fitness business online that I built after transitioning from being a personal trainer, I don't think there was much of a business model, to be honest, because I had no idea what I was doing. It was a lot of activity, a lot of content, a lot of grind, and we eventually, did very well, but it was very, very complex. There was a lot of moving parts. It was just overwhelming. And when I started Healthpreneur, I really sat down and I said to myself, well, I never want to build that kind of business again because there's a reason I'm selling it. I want to get out of it. So I said with Healthpreneur, I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to do extremely well, and I'm only going to do one thing. And I want to build this. This has to support my lifestyle, not the other way around. What do I want to do in the business? What am I not willing to do? And can I find others to eventually support those areas that I don't want to do anything in? Okay, cool. Maybe not on day one, but let's build towards that. So I was very intentional and very clear about the type of business that I wanted to create because I was very clear about the type of life that I want to live. I don't like looking at my calendar and having 20 things on it on a day. Like today, I have a workout with my trainer and I have one call later this afternoon. That's it. So when I get up in the morning, I already know like, hey, today is going to be a great day because I am in charge of my calendar. I get to create awesome content like this and I get to sit outside for a moment and enjoy looking at the trees, or I get to do anything I want, right? And even on the days that are a little bit busier, that's fine. It's all stuff that I enjoy doing. But I want first and foremost to encourage you to think about how do I build a business model that supports the life that I want to live? If you don't want to be dealing with clients all day long, then maybe you could increase your prices so you work with fewer clients. Or if you don't want to do that, you got to think about how you have to hire some more people to support those clients because you can't be the sole point of friction, resistance, or failure of your business. A business model is something you should be able to draw out on a piece of paper, and it maps out how you attract clients, how you convert them, how you deliver results. If you can't draw that out on a piece of paper, you don't have a business model, okay? Step 3 is set clear boundaries. Boundaries with your time, boundaries with others' expectations of you, and the work you will and will not do. So I've got 4 kids. I work first thing in the morning. I typically get up around 5. I do about 2.5 hours of work, focused work. I'm then with the kids for about an hour, then they're off to school. Then I have the next couple hours to do stuff like this, but generally 3 o'clock, I'm finished because kids come home at 3:15, 3:30, I'm done, right? If I can't use my time efficiently enough to be finished by 3 o'clock, something is massively wrong with how I'm using my time. So the fact that having kids has helped me set boundaries has been a big benefit. So if you want to avoid burnout, have some kids. It's a very simple way to be more productive. Actually, some of the most successful entrepreneurs I know have 4, 5, 6 kids. Interesting. Nonetheless, whether you've got kids or not, is just set some very definitive boundaries. Because if you don't, you see, here's the thing is people will treat you how you train them to treat you. Here's an example. Someone sends you an email. If you respond right away, guess what you just trained them to expect? Every single time I send Yuri an email, I will get an immediate reply. That's not a good precedent to set. Versus, let's say you had an autoresponder, or even better, an executive assistant who managed your inbox, but at the very minimum, an auto reply. Person sends you an email, boom, auto reply. Thanks so much for your email. I don't spend a lot of time on my inbox because I'm focused on building my vision. I'll do my best to get back with you or to you in 24 hours. Done. Now the expectation is I'm not going to be receiving an email for 24 hours. So at least I know that. So little things like this in different areas of your life can start to help you set boundaries. And this is going to be especially important with clients, okay? So in our entry-level coaching program called the Online Authority Accelerator, I remind our clients every week on our coaching calls, hey guys, this coaching call right here is your opportunity to ask me questions and for me to give you very detailed, personalized feedback on your situation. Cool? If you have other questions, be sure to bring them to the call because the community, the online community we host online inside of school, that's for you guys to connect. That's not a live Q&A friggin' chatterboard to like pepper me with questions. That's not what that's for. So I set clear expectations and maybe I could have done a better job when we first launched the program because I think some people were expecting a little bit more from me. But I'm like, yo, chill. This is for you guys, okay? I'm not spending my time in here. If you want access to me and my expertise on your stuff, happens on a coaching call, right? And if you don't like that, that's cool, but we're not going to work together. Like, I'm not going to change my way of doing things to appease you. Like, that's not the way this works. So anyways, you want to set clear boundaries. Start by saying no to everything that's not in your vision. So I say no to almost everything that I don't want to do. It's very clear for me. It's like, it's a hell yes or it's a no. So I get people reaching out to me on Instagram all the time and I pretty much ignore them. I don't respond. I be like, hey man, it looks like we're doing the same stuff or similar stuff. It'd be great to jump on Zoom and just catch up. I'm like, I don't have time or energy and most importantly, the desire to want to do that. And to be honest, that probably limits a lot of opportunities and depth of relationship, perhaps, or breadth of relationship that I have access to in my life. And I'm very aware of that. I'm very aware that if someone reaches out that has done some pretty interesting things in business and they're like, hey man, I'd love to connect. And I'm like, delete. I have consciously made a choice to delete a potential relationship from my existence. And I'm okay with that. And I understand the consequences of both. And I'm just at a stage of my life now where like I'm very, very picky about how I use my time. Because honestly, as I said, I get so much value from space. For me to have 10, 20, 30 minutes to sit outside and stare at the sky or look at the pine trees sway is very useful for me. I like that. And at the same time, I also understand that having a 30-minute conversation with another human is a very valuable activity, but I also understand that I only have so much energy. Like I'm not an extroverted person. I'm very introverted, more so now that I'm older. And I don't naturally want to have calls all the time on my calendar. And I understand there's a pro and con to that. But for me, it's like, the thing is I'm very clear about where I'm going. And part of that, as you grow and as you get more successful, you're gonna have all sorts of people just like, hey man, love to pick your brain, love to take it for coffee, love to do this. And I'm just like, sorry man, like fucking no. And sometimes it's hard because I'm like, man, this is like, they made an introduction, blah, blah, blah. Like, but you gotta protect your time. You gotta protect your space. You gotta protect your energy and just be very clear about your boundaries. Okay, so that's the third step. 4, and this is actually lines in with this, is put yourself first. So what I mean by this is a couple things. Number 1, from a work perspective, do your most important work first thing in the morning. I don't care if you're a night person or a morning person, everyone can benefit from doing their most valuable work when they are freshest, which is first thing in the morning. Even if you feel like shit when you get out of bed, just move your body, do some jumping jacks, some burpees, go for a walk. You will feel better in 30 minutes, okay? Get into your work right away. Your brain, your battery power is recharged, just go. You're not gonna feel that same sense of a little bit like clarity and energy at 11 o'clock at night, generally. So if you can focus on your most important work first, you turn off email, you turn off Slack, you turn off social media, and there's different apps you can use to block those, you will be way more productive. And because you're actually moving your vision forward, you'll feel better about yourself. So, the common saying of like, put your mask on before helping others is the same thing. I've got 4 kids. They don't exist to me before like 7:30 in the morning. Unless something catastrophic happens, which it doesn't, thankfully, from 5 until 7:30, you don't have a dad. That's basically like how I see this with my kids. And if you're a mom, like I know it's hard, it's easier said than done in certain situations, but if you're a mom as well, especially as your kids get a bit older, like prioritize yourself, get up early. Like they can make their lunch, they can make their breakfast, like let them do some stuff. Otherwise, you train them how to treat you. And then you feel overwhelmed and burnt out because you do everything for the kids. How did that happen? So sometimes you have to be selfish to be selfless, because in order for me to give the most to my family, I have to give the most to myself. The other thing I prioritize is sweat, strengthening, and stretching. So I like to think that I'm fitter now than I was when I was in my 20s. Maybe not from an athletic perspective, because if you put me on a soccer pitch right now, it might be a little bit different. But tennis-wise, hey man, we can go. Like 30 degrees Celsius, you want to play a 4 or 5 set match? Let's go. Like I'm in. Like 3 hours, let's sweat fast, I'm in. I can't imagine a life where I'm not active and healthy and fit. And I have this running joke with my kids, I hope it never materializes, where I've always told them, I'm like, hey man, if I end up like, I can't even walk and I'm decrepit and I'm in a wheelchair, you know what to do, right? And we actually saw someone last night at our neighbors being wheeled to the front door. And I told my kids, I'm like, hey guys, you know what happens if I end up like that, right? And my kids were like, yep, push you off a cliff. I'm like, all right, good. You guys remember, I'm serious. Like I say that jokingly, but the reality is I don't want to be 80 and in a wheelchair. I want to be 80. I want to be walking hills. I want to be doing stairs. I want to be swinging kettlebells. And I think it's really important to put ourselves first, because by putting yourself first, just from an activity exercise perspective, you actually show others you actually care about them. Hear me out. If I take care of my own body and I'm strong and I'm fit, when I'm 80, I am not dependent on my kids to push me down the street. So me being somewhat selfish now, and when I say selfish, I mean 30 minutes of exercise, I'm actually doing them a service. I don't want to have my parents depend on me to do anything. Like, I don't want to be put in that position, and I would not want to put others in that position either. So put yourself first, don't worry about it, take care of you first and foremost, because you are useless to others if you are not first and foremost useful to yourself. 5th step is very simply hire better people. The right people will energize you and they will make your life so much better. the wrong people will exhaust the living shit out of you. And I think you understand that. If you've worked with people, if you've hired people, you know what I'm talking about. Do not cut corners. Do not underpay. Pay people fair market wage, if whatever your philosophy is on that. But the biggest mistake that I made early on was when I was hiring, I was always choosing the cheapest possible hire. And I always got what I paid for. And it's so true in life. You always get what you pay for. There is not a single exception in life, maybe other than wine, which I don't even drink really, where you will always get what you pay for. If you pay for a private jet, you'll have a much better experience than flying economy. If you fly first class for business, which is more expensive than economy, you'll get what you pay for. If you buy a more expensive car, you will typically have a better experience. If you pay more for a coach, you're typically getting someone who knows what the hell they're doing. Okay? So choose to have the mindset of, I'm willing to pay top dollar relative to where you are for the best possible people, because the best possible people will save you money because they're actually good at what does they do. You're not like, you're going to hire people and then they're going to be B players and you're like, shit, now I got to do the work for them. And it's just a waste of time. So please don't make the mistake that I made early on, which was trying to hire people on the cheap, trying to look for the cheapest possible option. Listen, I understand like every business is different. So as you're growing, you don't have as much disposable income, but do what you got to do to grow your revenue to hire amazing people. Okay. Because there's a very big difference between 50,000 and 100,000, 100,000 and 200,000, 200 and 300. Every single jump in pay, I'm telling you, and if you've experienced this, you know what I'm talking about, it is a significantly better person that will make your life so much more enjoyable. Okay, so if you want to avoid burning out and if you want to have more energy in your life, surround yourself with absolute rock stars and do not tolerate anyone who doesn't live up to that standard. Okay, this is also something that I've had to learn the hard way, is you got to nip shit in the butt when you see it. You set a standard for the type of company you want to run. You set a standard for the type of people you have in your business. And if people do not meet that standard, you have to let them know. And if they repeatedly violate it, they're gone. And when I say standard, I'm talking about the smallest little things. In our business, we have everyone submit a weekly report on Sundays. If they don't, we've collectively agreed anyone who doesn't or submits it late donates $20 to wherever they want. When someone recently, I actually let someone go on our leadership team because in the space of 3 months, he missed 6 reports. And I was no longer willing to tolerate that. And that's a big decision. Like, that's not just like some low level, like he was overseeing a good number of people. And I said, I can't have this standard here. And that's a hard decision to make. In soccer, I don't know if you follow it, really good documentary on Arsenal, which is one of the top clubs in England. They were showing the behind the scenes, and Mikel Arteta, who's the coach of Arsenal, he benched Aubameyang, Pierre, or whatever his name is, I'll just call his last name, Aubameyang, who at the time was the captain and the best player for Arsenal, top scorer. He benched him, didn't play him, and then eventually had him train by himself, not with the rest of the team. Why? Because he repeatedly showed up late to practice. He would call in saying, I'm in a different country, I'm going to be a day late, I'm not going to be able to make tomorrow's training. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for Mikel Arteta to bench and isolate his number one player, and they eventually sold him to Barcelona, and then Barcelona sold him somewhere else because of the standard and the precedent that he was setting. Because if the captain and the top scorer on the team is setting that example, do you think that might permeate into the rest of the team? 1,000,000%. And no individual is bigger than the team. And I have a tremendous amount of respect for what they did. And as a result of that, the next season, Arsenal finished second. This season, they're kind of in the race for first. And this is what it's about maintaining standards. And you have to hire the right people. And you, as the owner of the business, have to maintain that standard and communicate that across the entire team. Otherwise, it turns into an absolute shit show. And then you're like, what just happened? Well, so those are 5 steps that have at least helped me avoid burnout. Again, I work harder now than I did 20 years ago when I was an overworked, underpaid personal trainer, but I don't feel burnt out because I give better meaning to my work. I've got clear boundaries. I take time and I prioritize myself. I've hired great people and I have a business model that supports the life that I want to live. So which of those 5 steps hits home the most with you? Let me know in the comments below. hit subscribe while you're here, and I'll see you in the next video. Once upon a time, I was a dead broke personal trainer working 12 to 14 hours a day, making less than $20 an hour, and wondering where on earth my life was going. Now, if you're a trainer or a gym owner and you're considering looking at how to build an online fitness business, I want to share exactly how to do that in 5 simple steps